What makes a 22-year-old from small-town Utah the center of one of the nation's most shocking political shootings? Was it ideology, a personal vendetta, or something still hidden from view? Due to the extraordinary trail of evidence left behind, as well as the high-profile target, the tragic shooting death of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah soon made national headlines. Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old from Washington County, Utah, was identified by authorities as the main suspect within a few days. Although federal investigators claim to have gathered a substantial amount of digital and forensic evidence connecting Robinson to the crime, numerous concerns concerning his intentions and potential influences are still unresolved. Here is a thorough analysis of the current state of the news, based solely on reputable news sources. News organizations and authorities have named the suspect as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. Robinson lived in southeastern Washington County, Utah, which is primarily a rural area close to the Arizona border, according to public records and investigative reporting. Robinson attended Dixie Technical College in St. George and temporarily enrolled at Utah State University, according to both ABC News and The Guardian. In contrast to someone who lived in several states or traveled extensively, his educational record presents a picture of a young man who was firmly anchored in Utah's local institutions. Reports about his family life suggest that he was still very much a part of his community and lived close to his parents. This ties to his family would subsequently play a significant role in his eventual capture. The FBI was closely involved in the arrest of Robinson, who was taken into custody by Utah officials. Investigators characterized him as uncooperative during questioning, according to CBS News, as he refused to explain his purported intent or go into further detail about his activities. The portrait is still unfinished, even if the general contours of his life have become clear. His employment history, interests, and whether he was involved in political activities before the shooting have not yet been thoroughly reported to the public. The question of whether Robinson's claimed activities were more influenced by personal grievances, ideological radicalization, or a combination of the two is still up for debate because those aspects of his history are still being investigated. The surveillance cameras were the first step toward identifying Robinson. Law enforcement published pictures and videos of a man captured on surveillance cameras close to the site almost soon after the incident. These included footage gathered from neighborhood cameras and home doorbells, as well as surveillance systems installed in public areas. Officials made a public plea for information, asking anyone who knew the individual to come forward. This tactic was more successful than most people expected. Numerous media sources claim that Robinson's own relatives identified him in the images that were made public. Although reports vary slightly on the precise order of events, it is said that his father in particular called the police after viewing the pictures. Family members encouraged Robinson to turn himself up, which seems to be a recurring theme in the reports. At first, Robinson refused to give himself in, according to ABC News. In addition to family pressure, a clergyman or close friend had to step in and serve as a go-between for Robinson and the police. He eventually consented to stay put until the police could get to him, and he was arrested without using force. A suspect who was captured on camera, identified by his own family members, and convinced to turn himself in by those close to him, is an uncommon chain of identification that highlights how community-driven the inquiry is. The quest was eventually ended by his family's awareness and action, rather than an anonymous tip from a stranger. Federal officials have made it clear from the beginning that forensic evidence forms the foundation of this case. The FBI declared that two important artifacts, a screwdriver found on the rooftop where the rounds were fired and a towel wrapped around the rifle thought to be the murder weapon, both contained DNA samples that matched Robinson. Specifically, the towel was discovered wrapped around the firearm in a forested area where the shooter is thought to have run away right away after firing. One of the most obvious connections between Robinson and the crime scene, according to AP News, was the DNA match. Investigators found the bolt-action rifle they believe was used in the shooting along with DNA. They reported discovering the screwdriver, palm or forearm imprints, and shoe impressions next to the weapon. These objects link a person to the surroundings of the rooftop where the shots were fired, in addition to offering genetic proof. The discarded bullet casings may be the most peculiar detail to surface thus far. Fox's Live Now and other media reported that the casings were unusual, because they had etched messages on them. Although they haven't made the complete meanings of the markings publicly available, authorities have claimed that the inscriptions had references with political or cultural importance. Although authorities advise against making hasty judgments, these carvings have stoked conjecture that the act might have had symbolic significance. Digital proof adds another layer. Newsweek and other newspapers reported Robinson's text and internet chats, and a letter that was deleted during forensic processing. In some emails, he discussed the rifle, inscribed casings, and concealing the weapon after the shot. Some record conversations with roommates or friends immediately thereafter. Newsweek and other newspapers note that some discussion logs appear to be post-event commentary or secondhand reports rather than pre-planning texts, making the forensic record difficult. Prosecutors have several options for constructing their case thanks to this combination of softer digital evidence, such as chats, notes, and engravings, and hard forensic data such as DNA and weapon recovery. However, not all of evidence has equal legal weight, and courts will eventually determine what is convincing and acceptable. The public and investigators alike are most eager to find the answers to a few important questions that remain unanswered, despite the abundance of evidence that has already been discovered. Motive is the most obvious unknown. Authorities have stated repeatedly that they do not yet know why Robinson allegedly targeted Kirk, including the governor of Utah and top FBI officials. Although officials have been cautious to point out that no clear ideological motive has been revealed in court files, some investigators have speculated that Robinson might have had left-leaning or leftist ideas. This uncertainty was highlighted by the Washington Post, which stated that although some of his opinions might have been inclined in that manner, the official motivation is still unknown. Whether Robinson acted alone is a second question. Law enforcement has not yet discovered accomplices, and no other people have been charged. However, investigators have stated that they are still looking into every possibility, including whether somebody gave him encouragement, supplies, or reconnaissance. The question of the digital footprint comes last. Analysis of the Discord messages and chats associated with Robinson is ongoing. Their order in relation to the shooting is still being examined, although some seem direct, while others are secondhand. Robinson's mental health and level of seriousness when speaking with peers were further questioned when People magazine revealed that some of the internet chats during the manhunt even assumed a humorous tone. People.com. It will be challenging to determine which communications show planning, which show replies in real time, and which might have been idle or deceptive banter until the forensic timeline is completely defined. Because it touches on several hot-button issues in American society, including political violence, the importance of family and averting escalation, and the effectiveness of forensic technology in contemporary investigations, the Robinson case is receiving a lot of attention. The alleged internet comments and engraved gunshot casings suggest an ideological or symbolic act. Authorities say they don't know Robinson's motive, which might be personal grievance, political radicalism, or both. The ambiguity shows how difficult it is to discern violent crime motivation, even with abundant digital and physical evidence. Robinson's family matters too. Family who saw him on TV and pushed him to turn himself in solved the case, not an undercover operation or anonymous source. This shows how essential family interaction may be in preventing such tragedies, and how communities often respond first to violence. Finally, the evidence indicates how often DNA and digital forensics are used in modern investigations. Without the towel, screwdriver, and online messages, this problem could have taken weeks or months to fix. Within days following the shooting, investigators had a suspect and a lot of forensic evidence. If you found this breakdown helpful and want to stay updated as new details emerge, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications. That way you'll never miss the latest updates on this case and other major stories.